We're joined on the phone today by Dieter Wiesner, longtime manager for Michael Jackson, and he has a new book out now. It's called Michael Jackson, The Real Story. Hey, Dieter, how are you today?
Fine. How are you doing, Dustin?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk a bit about your new book, Michael Jackson, The Real Story. What are the listeners in for with this one?
I think it's a book you can see a different Michael Jackson. It's not this. Everybody knows him like this super mega star on stage, and even I was very impressed when I was with him on tour. But here, there was the second part of his life and his dreams he did want to create after being this mega star on stage. That's why I wrote this book.
Well, and you were his manager for a long time, so you obviously have, insight and access to things that most people who have written about Michael obviously don't.
Exactly.
Well, and the online version, I noticed, has a bit of an interactive element to it. You got voicemails from Michael and a lot of stuff on there. That's really cool.
I had this many, many years, and I never used it because when he died, then I saw how important it is to show the world how he really was. He did want to buy Marvel, this comic catalog, and it would be exactly the right thing. In that time, Marvel was down on the floor, and he did want to have it, and he was so into it, to all these movies and all this stuff. And he would have on the one side the Beatles catalog, on the other side the Marvel catalog. Would be exactly the right step in that time.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see where his career would have gone had all that stuff gone through. He probably would have been, the richest guy in the world at that point.
He was not looking for money, I have to say. He was so into this because he knew. He told me once, Dieter, when the people are in the theater and they see Spider-Man and all this, they're going to scream. They're blowing the roof. And so he was so excited about these things. And he talked to Stan Lee, and then Stan Lee promised him, Michael, when you take over, I'm coming back, and I continue. There was 4,000 characters in this catalog, so he was so excited to do it.
Well, Dieter, can you explain what it was like being with Michael, on the road during that time, and I guess what the existence was like? I mean, he was probably the most famous person on the planet.
When I saw him the first time, we talked about the business, absolutely regular business, that's it. And then there was something in between. I had to go to him and told him, Michael, there's something wrong. We produced this drink and we did everything. And he was listening to me, and it was 3 hours by the end of the day. And he told me, Dieter, I know what's going on behind the scene, and I would like that you come with me on this history tour. So I had a lot of things to do at home, and so. But there's only one time in the world that mega artists like Michael Jackson ask you to come with him on tour. And on tour, all these 2 years, I was in 80 concerts with him. It was an unbelievable artist. He was such an aggressive man on stage and so into it. And when I was with him alone on the Neverland Ranch, he was a completely different person. Very shy, very quiet. You could just not believe that such a person like him could turn over the whole world. Very special.
And again, the new book, Michael Jackson, The Real Story, is out now. We're on the phone with Dieter Wiesner. I hate to bring this up, but, Michael's been in the news again the last couple of years, kind of painted in a negative light. What are your thoughts on that? You obviously were closer to him than most people were.
I think I was with him in Las Vegas when he was shooting the One More Chance video. There was the end of his career as a musician. He told me he would still do something, but he fulfilled all his contracts. He did everything. And then in the morning I got a call I should watch TV, and then I saw what happened. It was a disaster for him. We was prepared to go to Africa to Nelson Mandela, to a show, and so we had to stop everything. And it was for him absolutely disaster. And all these years I was with him, there was never anything I could say, there was improper, there was something wrong. And he was so, when I brought him this message in the morning, I had a feeling he dies. He was so shocked and his life was over. From this moment on, it was an absolutely disaster. But then we talked, and then I convinced him he has to go to court, and he can. But I think from this point on, Michael was not Michael anymore, like he was before.
Well, it's definitely interesting. Never going to be another person like Michael. And I know we only had a few minutes here. I wish we had some more time. But thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And again, that was Dieter Wiesner, longtime manager for Michael Jackson. And his new book, Michael Jackson, The Real Story, is available now.